The rain began as a whisper and turned into a roar within minutes, pounding the quiet neighborhood like an accusation. Wind bent the old trees until their branches scraped the sky, and the streetlights flickered, unsure whether to stay awake or surrender to the dark. Inside a modest two-bedroom house at the edge of town, Daniel Harper was wiping his hands on a dish towel, already tired in the way only single parents understand, the kind of tired that settles into the bones but never stops you from moving. Daniel was 36, broad-shouldered, with the permanent softness around his eyes of a man who'd learned to put someone else first. His 6-year-old son, Noah, sat cross-legged on the living room floor, carefully lining up toy cars while the storm howled outside. "Daddy," Noah said, glancing at the window, "it sounds angry." Daniel smiled and knelt beside him. "Just loud, buddy, we're safe." The power cut out with a sharp click, plunging the house into sudden darkness. Noah gasped, and Daniel immediately pulled him close. "It's okay," Daniel said calmly. "We've got candles." As he stood and moved toward the kitchen drawer, a sharp knock echoed through the house, urgent, uneven, almost lost beneath the thunder. Daniel froze. Nobody ever knocked this late, especially not in weather like this. Another knock came, louder this time. Daniel hesitated only a moment before grabbing a flashlight and moving to the door. He cracked it open, the storm forcing its way inside with cold rain and wind. Standing on his porch was a woman soaked to the bone, her dark hair plastered to her face, expensive coat dripping water onto the floorboards. "I'm sorry," she said, voice trembling, pride clearly battling desperation. "My car broke down a few blocks away. My phone's dead. I didn't know where else to go." Daniel took her in quickly. Not the clothes, not the unmistakable elegance beneath the mess, but the fear in her eyes, carefully hidden but undeniably there. "Come in," he said immediately, opening the door wider. "You'll catch pneumonia standing out there." She hesitated, then stepped inside, clearly unused to relying on strangers. Daniel closed the door against the storm and handed her a towel. "I'm Daniel," he said. "That's Noah." The woman knelt slightly, offering a small smile. "Hi, Noah, I'm Claire." No last name. Daniel didn't ask for one. He led her to the couch, lit a few candles, and offered dry clothes, an old sweatshirt, clean sweatpants. She accepted them with visible discomfort, the kind that comes from someone used to control uncertainty. While she changed in the bathroom, Daniel heated soup on the gas stove. Noah watched the stranger with wide curiosity but no fear. He trusted his father completely. Claire returned looking different without her soaked coat. She looked younger somehow, more human. The expensive confidence was still there, but muted. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I know this is unusual." Daniel shrugged. Storms don't care about usual. They ate in near silence, broken only by Noah's occasional chatter. Claire listened intently, laughing softly at his stories, her eyes warm in a way that surprised even her. She hadn't felt this normal in years. Claire Whitmore was the CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the country. She lived in penthouses, flew private, and made decisions that affected thousands of lives. But none of that mattered here. Here, she was just a woman whose car had failed her and whose carefully ordered life had been interrupted by kindness. When Noah finally fell asleep on the couch, Daniel carried him gently to bed. Claire watched from the doorway, something tightening in her chest. "You're a good father," she said softly when Daniel returned. He smiled, a little embarrassed. "I try." They talked then. Not about careers or success, but about life. Daniel told her about losing his wife to illness 3 years earlier, about learning to cook, braid hair, show up to school events alone. Claire listened, truly listened, in a way few people ever had. She told him less, only that she worked a lot. That life felt loud. The storm raged all night, but inside the small house, something quiet and fragile was taking shape. By morning, the rain had softened into mist. Claire stood at the door, her borrowed clothes folded neatly over her arm. "I'll have roadside assistance pick up the car," she said. "I don't know how to thank you." Daniel waved it off. "You needed help. Anyone would have done the same." They both knew that wasn't true. She paused, then scribbled her number on a scrap of paper. "If you're ever in the city, or if you just want coffee." He nodded, unsure why his chest felt tight. Sure. When she left, the house felt strangely quieter. Days passed, then weeks. Daniel didn't expect to hear from her again. Women like Claire didn't drift back into lives like his. But one afternoon, his phone buzzed. Coffee. They met at a small cafe halfway between their worlds. Claire wore simple clothes, no entourage, no visible signs of power. Daniel wore his usual jacket, his life etched into every line of his face. They talked for hours. Coffee became dinners. Dinners became walks. Walks became something deeper. Shared silences, easy laughter, a connection neither had planned. Daniel never asked what she did for a living. Claire never corrected his assumption that she worked in tech management. For once, she wanted to be known for who she was, not what she controlled. Noah adored her. One evening, months later, Claire invited Daniel and Noah to her home. She hesitated before giving the address. When they arrived, Daniel stopped short. The building alone was intimidating. The doorman greeted Claire by name. Daniel looked at her, confused. "Claire," he asked quietly. She took a breath. "There's something I should have told you." Inside the penthouse, sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled beneath them like a living map. Noah gasped in delight. Daniel stood still. "I'm a CEO," Claire said softly. "The CEO. I didn't hide it to deceive you. I hid it because I wanted to matter without it." Daniel processed this in silence. "I understand if this changes things," she added, her voice unsteady for the first time since he'd known her. He looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who'd laughed with his son, listened to his grief, sat on his worn couch during a storm. "You were still the woman who knocked on my door," he said finally. "That's who I fell for." Tears filled her eyes. Their relationship wasn't easy after that. There were board meetings and school pickups, headlines and quiet dinners. Worlds collided, but they chose each other, every day. Claire learned the beauty of small moments. Daniel learned that love didn't require shrinking himself. And sometimes, when storms rolled in and the rain battered the windows, Claire would remember the night her life changed. Not in a boardroom or a deal, but on a stranger's porch, where kindness opened a door she never knew she needed. Because love, like storms, arrives unannounced. And sometimes, the safest place you can find is the home of someone who never knew who you were, only that you needed shelter. The storm did not loosen its grip as the night deepened. Wind pressed against the small house as if testing its resolve, rattling the windows and sending shadows dancing across the walls. Daniel checked the locks